Now you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere.
Everywhere.
Can you hear me now?
Everywhere. Everywhere.
Yes, right from your Android or iPhone. Download the Radio Cayman app now on your Android or iOS phone.
The Radio Cayman app
is where you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere you go.
Everywhere we go, we go. Everywhere we go, we go.
Find it in the Google Store, the Apple Store, or use the link at www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Yes, now you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. And thank you very much for joining us on what is now indeed, all because of the beauty of lunch and the presence of company, going to be another blessed Friday. Got a chance to talk about the whole issue of cannabis and CBD and all the good stuff. As my friend across the pond shakes his head in agreement. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-TALK. We invite you to be a part of a discussion. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. As we invite you to share through your comments and your contributions, your questions or your queries, we want you to at least draw alongside and be a part of the learning process. Honored to once again welcome to the studio Dr. Mark Lockhart, together with R.M. IV and Mr. Reflections. Used to see him before as Mr. Universe and Mr. Physique and Mr. GQ, but Apprentice E. Panton himself.
Thanks for having us. Thank you so much for having us, Dwayne, and to Radio Cayman as well, too.
Well, gents, thanks very much for coming on. And Dr. Lockhart, as a medical practitioner, as you know, a member of our truly stellar medical community here, with international notoriety as well. Here's a discussion that we're having, and it's seen unfold on the international stage, as it is regionally, but even on our dinner tables. Our children have questions because they see it increasingly through their studies. And hopefully through today we can separate much of the myth, much of the misgivings, but hopefully the misinformation as well. With deference to our other two guests, or could we perhaps start with you first, and maybe just a brief salvo, but also, what is cannabis and CBD and THC, and what are some of the misgivings that we may have?
Okay, well, first of all, thank you very much, Sterling, for having us. And in particular for having me here. I really appreciate that. Let me start by saying that we evolve, or we should evolve, as human beings in terms of our experience and our knowledge over time. And I say that because where I am right now in terms of my beliefs based on my experience as a medical practitioner for close to 30 years, my experience as a senior physician here in the Cayman Islands, the longest serving psychiatrist in the Cayman Islands. The bulk of my career spent here in the Cayman Islands treating young people and treating our population. My belief, conclusions, based again clinically on the benefits and the potential benefits of cannabis as a medication has evolved and changed over time.
Okay. And, well...
And the conclusion is I see clearly that there are benefits for our population. And I want to focus on us. We're going to use evidence, I'm sure, and information from other jurisdictions. But I've heard complaints or comments that we are copying things, we're following things. And I want to clarify that we have to look outside of ourselves to learn and to see what's going on. But it doesn't necessarily mean we copy what goes on. We apply things based on what we see here and what we experience. So that may be a long, kind of winding explanation to say that it's been a process. 20 years ago, if somebody had asked me to talk about cannabis, I was taught, and my belief was that it's an illegal drug. What's the benefit? There is no benefit. I remember clearly myself and other doctors actually stating that a medication that you're smoking cannot have benefits for you because you're inhaling a smoke that's going to damage your lungs, and it's ridiculous. I've come a long way from that in terms of seeing clinical evidence and seeing anecdotal evidence in terms of the benefits, and looking at the research that's been done, rigorous research in reputable type of settings that have shown the benefits and the potential benefits medicinally and even socially to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Now, as a psychiatrist, I have a twofold approach to this topic. I have both the approach from a purely medicinal standpoint in terms of what the molecule of cannabis can provide and the benefits that are there and future benefits that we can discover. And I am acutely aware of the social impact of the status quo. So if we want to all agree, let's just leave everything where it is. I'm one of the physicians that's on the front line and seeing the ravages of where things are right now in terms of leaving it as it is. And we'll talk more about that.
And I appreciate that because I think this is where the discussion over the years now, some very notable people across the globe, I mean, former Secretary Generals, some kings of industry, some serious champions over the last decade in particular, decade and a half, have been saying, let's revisit this discussion. As we get into the discussion, I want to also ask, the way that the cannabis is administered, whether smoking or inhale or drops or however it's done, does that make a difference in terms of its effectiveness and the like? And then, Ari, at some point, I know you and Prentice both have given me a personal lesson in respect to the different strains and still trying to figure out how it works. But there's a lot to it. So there is a science. And Prentice, from your perspective, is it more societal that we have this perception, that we hit the boys from West Bay or whatever it is, and not seeing that this thing is beneficial?
Yeah, I would agree with what the doctor said. And I likewise was in opposition to many years back that we all more or less been conditioned to think that it's such an evil thing, and they shouldn't touch it, and there was absolutely no benefits. But a few years ago, maybe just 5 years ago, is when I started to look at it. Really, the truth is from a business point of view. Just thought about it as a product. And I was on a trip, and I was sitting at dinner, and a learned doctor sat down with us, and I was listening to our conversation. He said, you just like all the rest, you just in it for the money, and everybody kind of looked back at him, and what are you talking about? And then now he started to get more into it and what the uses are, what the implications of using it was. And actually, we became quite close. We were looking at potentially even getting into partnership together. But by spending that amount of time with someone that had the experience with it, and I got into where I wanted to bring in, which I ended up doing, some other doctors who were circuit speakers, and I brought them on the island, and they certainly really opened my eyes into what the benefits and the use of it is. And like I said, the other side of it, by legalizing it or decriminalizing it, also there's the society benefits there as well, where people aren't punished for something that's should be their right to use. So it was also a process, and I think now that I see it, anybody that really goes into it and looks at it with an open mind, and like say, you don't have to necessarily agree, but just look at these things with an open mind. You realize that there is a benefit, and I think that's why the discussion is being had more and more in every corner of the world.
Right. Well, I appreciate. I think we all have had a perception, and I still have mine. Hopefully, it won't take away from my objectivity. But perhaps before we go to the break and before we invite Ori into the discussion, Dr. Lockhart, growing up in this community is probably not unlike other Caribbean communities, where your parents and grandparents particularly warn you against this thing, because they would say, oh, it makes you lazy, it takes away ambition, and all these things. Those are some of the social implications. Medically, is that a concern? And societally, give us a perspective on that.
So that's very interesting, and it is a concern. It is a concern. I mean, even things that are good for us, if they're used in excess, overused, or abused, can lead to certain problems. If you take too much aspirin, you're going to bleed, and you're going to have problems that could be life-threatening. Does that mean that we ban aspirin, or we don't look at what doses are used for certain settings, or have the availability to have studies to assess the use? I use aspirin again because aspirin is one medication that has transformed in terms of its indication. 30 years ago, it was used for pain. Today, it's used as a blood thinner. The way that was discovered is through studies. It's through having legitimate, scientifically monitored studies to see those benefits. Unfortunately, it's been very difficult with cannabis to get that. And virtually every study that has been done, almost, and everything I'm saying, I challenge anyone to look it up. Almost every study that's been done, even those that have been inconclusive, have almost shown that there's some potential positive benefit. The National Academy of Sciences in the United States, and these are not just the medical doctors, just the scientists in general, put a report out in 2017 with certain conclusions that there is substantial conclusive evidence of cannabinoid efficacy in several disorders: chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, control of nausea. There's moderate evidence for its efficacy or its benefits in improving sleep in those with chronic medical conditions like chronic pain, fibromyalgia. There's other limited evidence, but some evidence that shows that there's benefit in treating certain anxiety disorders, post-traumatic stress disorder. I can go on and on.
Yeah. Even ABSD.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we have to look at the overall profile and the potential side effects. So one criticism many times that we get from medical practitioners is that we see a lot of young people that smoke a lot of cannabis and they're lazy. It affects their mood. It affects their cognitive functioning. It can increase schizophrenia and psychosis. So why would you want to legalize something like this or decriminalize something like this? And I'll let our learned expert talk about that difference. But
okay. Before you jump in, let's make sure, because Mr. Fox, you need me to come to you for that break so we can get that paycheck at the end of the month. I just kidding. It's intended to be, what it was. We're going to pause, take a break. That question that Dr. Lockhart sort of left, we'll have Ori reference it when we return. Got a couple of callers online. Tell your friends in the studio, Brenda Spannon, Ori Mariner Fourth, and Dr. Lockhart. our guest. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Thank you.
Stay clean, stay safe, hey man. Reflection sells gallons of sanitizer for only $25. Buy 2 clip-on sanitizers for just $5. Reflections has the best KN95 masks or reusable cloth masks, and you can get 2 for only $5. Blue surgical masks and face shields are available for children and adults, as well as 10 and 50 packs of black surgical masks. Volume discounts available at Reflections, Jose's Rubus, Reflections Hemp and Tobacco, all 5 Liquor for Less locations, and Food for Less open 24 hours every day. Don't miss the Liquor for Less incredible priced better markdown. Hundreds of fine from $2.99. Cases of ice cold below wholesale prices. Save $10 off liters of absolute exclusively at Liquor for Less. Prices so low we can't say them on the radio.
Savannah Pharmacy. Shop local and get a head start on your Christmas shopping. For ladies' handbags, clothes, shoes, fragrance, candles, and cosmetics with the newest Farmhouse Fresh line of skincare. For the gentlemen, clothes, shoes, fragrances, gift sets, and toys and games for the kids. Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they are always just around the corner with everything your family needs. And convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
A friendly holiday reminder. You can WhatsApp your Savannah Pharmacy prescription to 929-5045. That's 929-5045. Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
You see how hard it's raining?
Yeah, and I don't have time to fight traffic and get my lunch from Subway. I have so much work to do.
Why don't you order Subway by using the Let's Eat or Bento app? Save time, stay dry, and get your sandwich fast.
I never thought of that. Great idea. I'm going to order now.
Order me a veggie pizza while you're at it.
And a cookie platter for the office. Too busy at work or home? Is the rainy weather stopping you from dining out? Order your favorite Subway sandwich, wrap, or pizza through the Let's Eat or Bento app with fast and reliable delivery. Subway, eat fresh.
We think it's time you crossed over to a new vehicle. And with the 2021 Toyota Corolla Cross now at Vamp Motors, you have plenty of reasons to make the switch. The crossover body and hybrid engine is a sleek design in a sturdy structure with a spacious interior that opens to extensive cargo space. Stuck in traffic? The high-performance self-charging hybrid system automatically switches between gas and electric vehicle mode, helping you lower both fuel costs and carbon emissions. The Corolla Cross has full LED lighting inside and out, an integrated display audio system with energy monitor, and a dual-zone climate control system to ensure comfort for all. Test drive the new 2021 Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid today at Vamp Motors, Walkers Road.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And we do have a topic that for some may find a bit emotive, for others they may find it influential, and for those who are still uncertain, well, we would like for you to draw alongside and maybe come away with at least an inclination to research for yourselves and to be independent and verified. Dr. Mark Lockhart, together with Ori Mary IV and Prentice Panan, thanks so much for accepting the invitation to be part of the discussion. We do have a call online, but Ori, I wanted to ask you right after that.
Sure.
Let's take the caller. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you today, man?
Good afternoon, caller.
Yeah, good.
All right, Rambo. Good to hear from you, man.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, right here. It sums up fast, right? This is my embellishing opinion of facts towards it, right? And I hope everybody, the systems connecting, right? Or the neural connections intact, right? And how whoever the Shadow Minister of Health, they can rewind this on YouTube, and the active Minister of Health used to come from Sterling.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now all the enough or literally it's a coping mechanism, right? Not a profound effect. Okay? Regardless, if the person going through stress, frustration, midlife crisis, or in diseases. Okay? All right. The disadvantage, right, of pharmaceuticals or over the counter, right, it's putting a strain on your liver, right? You overdose, you overdrive, you OD. And I hear that the head trick, Dr. Lockhart, the psychiatrist, mentioned aspirin. And I believe aspirin is a medicated opium. Is that so, Dr. Lockhart?
Not really, but go ahead, sir.
Okay. You know, not to hype the truth, but I think correctly, the skeptical boundaries now. We have to think forward. Cause you said over 2 decades, you read it off. You don't want to do with it, right? But right now, in an era, in time, and we follow the benefits. Okay, because the whole global 1/5 of the world recognize it as a norm, and they move forward with it. But here in Cayman now, it always a stigma or taboo. Where's that coming from? So I hope right now listening to the full speech, and no, I hear none of them mention the herbs. None of them.
Yeah.
But don't let me go. But the premier and the governor can march with that lifestyle of people parade on it. That lifestyle, they don't bring it, they keep it to themselves, right? And I don't want to sound like a negative towards that, right? Or homophobic. But the point I make now, we are a contemporary era. We will move forward. Okay.
Okay, man.
And you know alcohol more than anything.
Right.
Alcohol.
Right.
And illegal in tobacco, especially passive smoke, second smoke. Have a good weekend.
Thanks so much, Mambo. Ori, welcome.
Sure. In matter of fact, to just follow up to what he was just talking about alcohol. I'm gonna just quote one little bit from a case that I previously mentioned, the CARICOM marijuana report, and that just speaks about the Commission believes that the end goal for CARICOM should be the dismantling of the prohibition in its totality to replace a strictly regulated framework akin to that for alcohol and tobacco, which are harmful substances that are not criminalized. That's just what I'm going to read, but it makes the point that tobacco and alcohol are legal, but there's become some stigma attached to our demonization with cannabis. But once you're able to unwind the Gordian knot, so to speak, and have a better understanding of the medical benefits and also the social implications for criminalization of something that's not necessarily inherently criminal, it's very conclusive evidence to show that it's not criminogenic. It does not make people more aggressive as they would regularly. But alcohol, that can occur far easier. You'll find that when in relation to criminalization that we encounter, the real bad part about it is actually the prohibition, because you have turf wars. When you bring in cannabis that's not tested, you don't know whether there's microbials, heavy metals, toxins. You don't know the cannabinoid content, terpene profile. So the prohibition seems to create more crime than it detracts from.
Sorry, Dr. Hart.
Yeah, so just to follow up on what Mr. Mario was just saying, in January of 2015, the Commissioner of Police of the Cayman Islands at that time said that he had wanted to see the decriminalization of consumption and personal possession of small amounts of cannabis because it's, quote, clogging up the system. That was Commissioner Baines. He said that there was no doubt that the canoes from Jamaica bringing in the ganja are also bringing in firearms being used in violence. He said that as Jamaica had moved at that time towards legalizing the regime for the production of cannabis, that it was likely that they would be less concerned about the trafficking of the drug and their border control enforcement would drop. He was focused on the low-level consumption and use and felt that it was clogging the system. The article says, Baines said, quote, "It was time to allow officers to issue warnings or ticketed fines to people regarding consumption and low-level possession to free up the system and stop young people from carrying criminal records for ganja use." Now, I just want to add one last thing. If we pull up the RCIPS current crime statistics from 2018 to 2020, there were 437 arrests relating to, as they call it, ganja. Now, let's take out the charges for importation and supply. None of us are advocating that.
No.
Let's take that out. That's 48 people, or 48 arrests between 2018 and 2020 for importation and supply. That leaves 389 arrests between 2018 and 2020. That's criminalization. Where is the treatment? Where is the rehabilitation? And I'll stop there.
Right. Well, something, Ori, as you are, maybe share your thoughts. Now, this is where I've asked of you, privately and publicly, and other attorneys and other individuals. We get into the words of decriminalization and legalization, and I will keep harping on that because from what Dr. Lockhart just reminded us, the Commissioner Baines, back 6 years ago reference, there is a significant difference. And if we're creating a system where these warrants the police officers can use, we are not just having a case of discretion, we also have a case of, potentially putting that young person and clogging up the system, all because of personal consumption, right? So, Ari, as you venture into your...
You want to, just so that I clarify, we're talking about decriminalization and legalization. Well, I talked about it a few times in different angles, but I knew you were going to ask, so I brought a Black's Law dictionary to let you know what the legal dictionary says.
Right.
And definition of decriminalization is an official act generally accomplished by legislation in which an act or omission formerly criminal is made non-criminal and without punitive sanctions.
But still creates the...
You can have a ticketable offense.
Right.
So that, just to clarify before I go into legalization, there is a difference between decriminalization and depenalization.
Right.
Perhaps what it's not 100% clear because you can have a decriminalization regime where you give a ticketable offense. Yeah, but it's kind of like a little traffic ticket,
but still creates,
doesn't go on your record. It's not good to get,
but it still creates clogging up the system.
Correct. And depenalization could be where they give warnings and so forth. But the real crux of the matter, in my own opinion, I agree with Dr. Lockhart. When it's the real thing that needs to be accomplished here is treatment, rehabilitation, education. Once people understand what they're using, what the benefits are, the deficits are, and also get help enable themselves to be better contributors to society. I mean, I can tell you right now, all of us around this table, including yourself, I know that from all of our conversations, our desire and our heart is to see society in a better place.
Right.
And that this is really the underlying theme that
And even though I appreciate that, and even though I will never belabor that, but I certainly will not, give up on the importance of making that distinction. So when we get to that space,
so I have legalization here too.
Go right ahead.
Legalization is the act of legalizing and making legal or lawful. That's legalization. Now I'll read legalized. That probably explains a bit more. To make legal or lawful, to confirm or validate what before was void or unlawful, to add the sanction and authority of law to that which before was without or against law.
Mm-hmm. And you see, it's more than semantics, it's actually the implications, right?
Yeah.
And this is where I'd say it now and I'll say it then, publicly champion legalization because of the potential of treatment, but also the taking away of the warrants and the discretion that may be had by some, which could lead to abuses and the clogging of the system.
Actually, could I make a comment in relation to that? I think it's very important when we're speaking about legalization and decriminalization. One, the focus should be in line with, there's 3 United Nations drug conventions.
Mm-hmm.
Because Cayman Islands is an overseas British territory, we have to ensure that the United Kingdom, if we pass any legislation or we make any laws or have any changes, that we're not putting the United Kingdom in breach of their international obligations. So it's a lot different. You perhaps have a little bit more, turning my phone off, have a little bit more wiggle room when you're an independent country, because without that overseas territory, colonial type of relationship, so to speak, there's a little bit more freedom. But I think ultimately what we should be focusing on, and by the way, my views are very conservative when it comes to cannabis. I support legalization of medical functions. We already have a legal regime, but it's very narrow. There's room for expansion and decriminalization by adults in private.
Right. Small steps.
But where children are protected and where others are not harmed as well. It's very important that
But this is where, when we look at, say, alcohol and tobacco that are legal, we see state of California and some others talking about towards tobacco 21, right? Moving and increasing the age to legally smoke tobacco, recognizing that through their initiatives, the public education, they've seen significant savings in health costs, productivity increase, the age at which people start to smoke, moving from early on to much later. So there benefits, financial as well as societal as well as medical, for that. But Dr. Lockhart, from this perspective, overcoming the perceptions that we have in Cayman and in probably even the Caribbean of, well, it can make you lazy, it can lead to this and that. We've heard, from people, oh, my grandmother used to use it for her glaucoma, her asthma. People who have seizures and epilepsy will swear by it when they don't have it. So there is some benefits from just, word of mouth as well, but there's scientific evidence of its effectiveness as well.
Yes, sir. So the first recording of the use of cannabis was about 2,800 years before Christ.
Wow.
It was used in Chinese medicine dating back 10,000 years ago. It's written in a Chinese pharmacopoeia, which is really just like a dictionary of medications by the Emperor Shen Yong. It's been used by the Egyptians to treat hemorrhoids and inflammation. It was used in India for insomnia and pain and digestive problems. So there's been a long history of thousands of years of this plant. Actually, it is one of the oldest cultivated plants on the planet. Wow. What happened was, it was an Irish physician, if I can remember, that was working in India in the middle of the 1800s, 1840, 1850, that saw the benefits of cannabis and was so impressed with it that brought it back, in a sense, to the Western world. So from about mid the 1850 all the way to, for about 100 years, to close to about the 1930s, cannabis was used. It was prescribed, it was used for pain, it was used for sleep, menstrual cramps, many things. Certain political changes started to occur, primarily in the United States. A lot of it had to do with certain challenges that jurisdiction has struggled with.
But you're very politically correct.
and I'd also add that the same was actually very similar in Bermuda to what you find in the United States in terms of discrimination against certain sectors of society where that should not have occurred. So,
right. So then changes came in terms. So actually, in the U.S. pharmacopoeia, if you look up and you can get like their 1850s, 1860s like journals of medications, cannabis was listed.
Yeah.
And then it was taken out after these political changes. And there are many reasons behind it, but basically it became villainized as something that is going to make you lazy, it's going to make this, it's going to have certain people of certain ethnicities mixing with other ethnicities, it's going to cause all kind of certain things, and that has filtered down. And especially those of us that live and have grown up or experienced a colonial type existence, we found that it was conveyed that this is something that would destroy you and make you lazy and inefficient, and not that it couldn't,
right?
But that clouded any kind of view to look for the potential benefits that it had, and to rather than villainizing something, to look at the potential benefits and put in the guardrails to protect those who we don't want to be affected by it.
And this is why it's alright. Why when I look at it and try, I'm harking, to that thing that we all say, no, realize we say it incorrectly, but unfortunately don't understand it. A little learning, a little knowledge, a little learning is a dangerous thing. And increasingly, as we look at history, we see the impact. So the notion of legalize versus decriminalize, I am adamant that it's imperative that we get that right now and not just incremental steps, but in particular the historical context of those colonialized peoples, where you have the police and authority with the discretion to issue warrants, ticketable offenses and the like. Well, I don't like that one because it shaded his skin, or he's a West Bayer, right? Those things, when they're removed, allow a fair and a much more level playing field, right? So when we look at the benefits, perhaps it's time to consider the evidence.
Yeah, and I think that some of these are some issues that it's not just lawyers, it's not just the legislature, it's not just medical doctors that have a role, but as Dr. Lockhart alluded to, and this is very important, that the police service and also the social service, counselors and so forth, everybody have an understanding in how to tackle this, because social injustice is something that's very real. Discrimination is very real, and what we want to do is also ensure that people that are not doing something inherently criminal don't suffer where they can't support themselves and their families in the future. We want people to be able to get education. We want people to be able to travel for medical purposes.
Right.
We want people to be...
when we look at the misuse of drugs law, I think in 86, when that came in, and the request for a urine sample, right? A police officer stops you. If you refuse, that was immediately an offense. That has led to many young boys in particular being in the courts. And if the officer knows that this fella is highly probable that he can be just had a smoke,
yeah, I agree. I think that's what it was, in a sense, it created for that particular law. Was a story on that I heard that it was basically a drug dealer they couldn't catch, so they knew he smoked, and they created that law in order to get him on that. And it certainly, going back in my history, I smoked briefly a little bit. I didn't particularly like it back in the 80s when I was a teen. And one of the primary things I stayed away from it was because I was afraid of being around a friend and just rounded up and dragged away. And like I said, a lot of this came from, the movies. Reefer Madness was one that came out in the 30s that, if you smoke marijuana, you're going to turn around raping white women, and those are go insane. So that to me, that's one of my primary reasons I'm here is to push forward on the side of like decriminalization, ultimate legalization, is that we can redirect the resources right? I actually didn't know that the Commissioner Beans had supported it.
Yeah.
So
even here on the show,
glad that learned. So I mean, it's not just the police, right? You got the police, you got the court system, you got the prison system. I mean, there's 80,000 a year to have someone in prison. I mean, that's a number of social workers you could employ, right? Just by having people locked up, and then also by freeing the space in prison for people who consume cannabis, you could put more hardened criminals in jail, potentially for longer. And I mean, like, I've been called for jury duty, for example, many times, and I go in there, and every time I'm in there, it's like, okay, when's the next available spot? A year later, because the court system is, like I said, clogged up. So you're leaving criminals on the road for a year to wait time to get into prison. It doesn't make sense. So I think, like, by changing our focus and allowing something that should have been allowed all along. The only odd part of it was when the doctors pointed that out when he gave his speech. The unusual part of cannabis history is the last 100 years. It's been legal or in use for 8,000 years, and it's only now the last 100 years that they have tried to control it. So let's get back to what history has proven, that it is a safe and useful product.
All right. So let's talk about that, Dr. Lockhart, because I think there are some, like me, that still need convincing. There are others who are gradually getting there because of a desire to get that knowledge. But then there are also some consequences that we need to consider. I'm going to pause and take a break, and when we come back, I just had to ask, though, is it during the break that we're going to look at the samples? I'm just asking for a friend. No samples. No samples. Okay. All right. Let's pause and take a break. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
We may be in Christmas shopping mode, but 'tis the flu season too. Savannah Pharmacy has immune system boosters for the entire family with a range of vitamins and supplements. Their knowledgeable and courteous pharmacists are always available to offer the best advice and products. Remember, they are always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
A friendly holiday reminder. You can WhatsApp your Savannah Pharmacy prescription to 929-5045. That's 929-5045.
Are you planning a social, an office party, or event over the holiday season? Make the most of your holiday party and leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway Box to Go with the option of a 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips. Cater your holiday parties with Subway. Visit subway.ky for menu options. Subway. Eat fresh.
Study local and go far this spring. Want to start your bachelor's or associate degree, or just need a few classes to complete? Registration is now open for spring classes at UCCI. Scholarships are available for the spring semester, but you need to act now to meet the deadlines. Visit www.ucci.edu.ky to enroll now. Classes begin January 10th. Enroll by December 1st for a chance to win an iPad or a laptop.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. Please be advised that the pension contribution holiday has been extended until 31st of March, 2022. Employers and plan members should ensure arrangements are in place for salary deductions and remittance following this date. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan, keeping you informed. For further information, visit chamberpension.ky. And for information as it happens, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. We're here for you.
Shopping local just got tastier. Save the date. Saturday, December 11th. Pure Art Gallery and Gifts. Treats for shoppers. Indulge in your island favorite Tortuga cakes and treats for the kids. Gorgeous local jewelry, household items, paintings, prints, ornaments. Perfect for that secret Santa gift. And to all of the island Santas shopping for Mrs. Claus, couldn't be any easier. The charming Cayman Cottage Pure Art Gallery and Gifts on South Church Street is open 9 to 5, Monday through Saturday, for your holiday shopping in Grand Cayman.
Continuing the Caymanian tradition.
Let Cora keep my ground so clean.
The heart and soul of the Cayman people. Thank you for keeping the culture alive.
There's the news every day. From East End to Georgetown, down into West Bay.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. Over 90 commercial farmers across Grand Cayman have so far received payment of $1.7 million from the Ministry of Agriculture under the Tropical Storm Grace Farmers Assistance Project. To date, the ministry has received 123 applications under the project. A total of 122 assessments of the farms have been completed, with 106 applications approved for payment. In international news, scientists believe they have found the trigger that leads to extremely rare blood clots after the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID vaccine. The team in Cardiff and the U.S. have shown in detail how a protein in the blood is attracted to a key component of the vaccine. They think this kicks off a chain reaction involving the immune system that can culminate in dangerous clots. The vaccine, however, is thought to have saved about 1 million lives from COVID. Families who lost loved ones during the pandemic have said they are sickened by a number 10 Christmas party held during last year's COVID restrictions. The party took place on December 18th, with a source telling the BBC several dozen people attended the Prime Minister's home, but the COVID restrictions operating at the time banned such events. Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who was not at the party, said no COVID rules were broken, but number 10 has refused to explain how partygoers complied. Germany will ban unvaccinated people from shops and bars unless they have recently recovered from COVID. Chancellor Angela Merkel says a nationwide vaccination mandate could be imposed in Germany from February 2022. These are your latest headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. And thanks very much for joining us. And I trust and pray that with everything is an attempt to not just invite, inform, include, but welcome you to participate in our discussion. Our Mary IV, Dr. Mark Lockhart, and Prentice Panton sits with us. As we get into the discussion, maybe I could just ask again.
Sure.
We see increasingly, on a global scale, more and more discussion about revisiting how we perceive and dispense, how we access and supply cannabis. You know,
correct.
It would appear that whatever name that we ascribe to it, it may have a much more palatable sort of perception. Or ganja, that them boys in the bush. Marijuana, that's the more influential people. Cannabis, oh, that's medically available. But it's all one and the same, or is it not?
It is.
Okay.
It is. Well, there's cannabis sativa, cannabis indica, and cannabis reticulus. Reticulus is more grown in a part of Russia that you don't really find here, but predominantly the strains would be actually a hybrid between either indica dominant or sativa dominant. But I would say, and I would allow input from Dr. Lockhart, or invite input from Dr. Lockhart and Prentice on this issue, is that depending upon also everybody's body is very different. So there's, like I talked in a previous time we were here about going low and slow, because you need to be careful to not overdo things. I think that the terpene profile is very important. The terpene profile, as I've talked about it, I said smell and flavor, I believe, but to draw on an expert witness's statement in a Canadian case, he made an analogy with aroma, which is perhaps the best way to put it. But it has that, and also the cannabinoid content can really dictate different things. It all doesn't make you sleepy and tired and lazy. That's good if you're trying to go to bed and you have insomnia, right? That
so
helps you get
knowing
sleep.
when to use and which one to use will
Yes.
help you in your benefit.
Right. There's other terpene profiles that can give you a focus characteristic. There's others that can give you a little bit more energy, ironically. But you were talking about supply. In the Cayman Islands, at least in the medical capacity, I should say, is doctors prescribe and the pharmacies dispense, essentially. There's a little bit more to it than that, but that's in a nutshell what it is. But in terms of supply, we're having supply chain problems all over the world right now. If we don't have a domestic, a legal way to cultivate domestically and extract cannabinoids, we can't self-supply in our own islands.
So I just made a note right before Ori said that, that's a major problem we're facing right now.
Yeah.
So how I address things is we can discuss intellectually what we would like to see and where the fallacies are or where the weaknesses are and what we need to bridge in terms of gaps. And we can also face what the problems are on the road outside right now as we speak. Earlier this week, I sat with a patient in my office that has been responding to medicinal cannabis for chronic pain complaints. And this is somebody that was on opiate medications in the past. These are opiates that we see the major crisis in the United States, people dying from opiates. People have died here in the Cayman Islands, overdose on opiates. And this person, we were able to transition them to medicinal cannabis, and they're doing very well. The particular product that they were using is no longer available in the Cayman Islands because the company that was bringing it to a particular pharmacy chain here has made their own business decisions about where they need to sell their product and the demand that they have in Canada for their product. So they no longer need the market in the Cayman Islands. So that's our patient now without it. Another problem I saw this same week is another person that's on a medication that's called methadone. Methadone is a very long-acting, very powerful narcotic medication. It's used primarily to prevent withdrawal from people that have been addicted to opiates, that we can transition them to methadone. It's a safer medication, less problems on the body. It prevents withdrawal, and then over time you can gradually take them off methadone. Methadone is one of the 2 major medications in the world today to treat opiate dependence.
Yeah, what he's talking about is what they might otherwise refer to as dope sickness, just so that if anyone's following. Yeah.
Right now, we have no methadone in the Cayman Islands, 0. We just ran out last Friday. And we have people on methadone who are going to be going into withdrawals, who we have to now look and come up with ways of trying to use other combinations of meds to prevent that from happening. What does this have to do with the topic today? If we had the option of having strains of cannabis grown here scientifically, legally done in a proper mechanism, we wouldn't have to go beg Canada, beg the United States, beg anybody else for their medications and wait and let our people suffer
and
till
possibly
we
die.
get it. And possibly die.
Wow. And this is where, as you say that, I can liken it to food security and issues of national interest. Now, we do have a caller joining us, and this is where I'm very grateful to each of you for taking time out of your very, very busy day, Dr. Lockhart.
I'm grateful to you.
Very grateful to
Mr. Marion and Prentice. Let's go to the phones. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
Good
ma'am.
afternoon.
How are you?
Gentlemen, a favorite subject of mine.
Yes, ma'am.
Still of the opinion, Mr. Sterling, that the question of compassionate marijuana has been asked and answered in this country in a compassionate way. I don't think it was much legwork done. I know work was done, but it wasn't that much legwork done because, first of all, it was a well-researched situation, and I think it was presented in a very professional way, and it's like everybody got the message, and I think that has been asked and answered. I would ask the doctor, and good evening, doctor, good afternoon, doctor.
Good afternoon.
And the lawyer to respond to that point. And I will continue here for just a little bit. Speaking of medical research, I want us to medical research everything. You got plenty of plants here. You're ripping them up and you're tearing them out, including marijuana. I want us to stand that tall, to be that brilliant, and to pretend to have the capacity that we could do something else here in this country except cajole the young to waste their time. And let me say something, gentlemen. I deals with that every day. Ain't pleasant, ain't kind, ain't funny, and it's not easy. It's a beast. And ain't nothing wrong with mine. More than I can fight this, I can ride this bull all the way out of the pen, and I'm going to get my way that I can sit down right out there by the back door, make Granny smell it, and get on her nerves and on her sick case. You see, these are the things we're dealing with. For medical research, nobody would jump higher to support that than me. In fact, that's what I wanted to do with my life, medical research.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm not going to be against anything. I hear about all the good. I believe the good. But let us not muddle up the good with the bad.
Correct.
Because, like I say, mine don't need nothing.
Correct.
Needs nothing.
Well, I completely...
Good manners and good respect. And
yes,
I tried to teach and model, but didn't want to take that because I worship the weed. Anyway, gentlemen, got nothing to say when it's for medical research. And I understand Dr. Lockhart's interest, the lawyer's interest, and even you, Sterling, because you're not riding off the fence. But I'm just wondering what Mr. Panton's interest is.
My interest is, like I said, I'm an employer, and a lot of people that have criminal records can't get jobs, they can't get visas, they can't go away to school. My interest is I've been a victim of armed robberies that the police can't find the time and the resources to put people in jail because the jail is full of people who smoke marijuana. Like I said, I started this journey 5 years ago with the intention of making money off of it, but after having my conference and people coming up to me that were cancer patients and hugging me and said, thank you very much for doing it, that was a life-changing moment. You know, my interest in getting into this is bring costs down and quality up. The cost of producing cannabis oil is next to nothing. An ounce of that sells for over $180 in Cayman. If you could grow it yourself in your own yard and produce it, it's very simple to do. But like I said, you asked me what my motivation is. My motivation is that so that my family members don't get locked up. I no longer consume. I didn't like it many years ago, but there's people that are close to me that do, and I don't want them to be incarcerated.
I don't have a problem with you and your farm. Do medical research and get
no, I don't want to have. I didn't say I want a farm. I said family.
I'm just saying. I use the word you. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Anybody who want to do a thing, go ahead and do a thing, but from a perspective where this is for the better good. Not for foppishness, and I could use other words, but I can just run with that.
No, I appreciate it, but okay, but take that note, right? That we all acknowledge that ganja, cannabis, is being consumed in the Cayman Islands illegally. Does anybody know what does it contain? Does anybody know where it came from? And that's where, like I said, that's where we're at here. Is to like I say, we have to acknowledge that if you want to call it a problem, the situation is here. So we need to acknowledge that, and then, like I said, we need to say, okay, how do we improve the situation? We improve the situation by decriminalizing at a minimum that you can grow it yourself, so you know the source. We could reduce the number of ships or canoes coming from Jamaica, Honduras, wherever, with drugs and cocaine and guns on board. That's a regular thing. Every boat is caught with both or all three. And like I said, you could produce you don't have we could be allowed to grow hemp, right? And we can and produce our own CDB oil. That's all, like I said, that's over $100 and something an ounce. Whereas you could put that, it's as simple as getting whatever ounce and putting it in coconut oil and heating it up for another half an hour or 3 hours, and it's produced for less than $5 an ounce. So we have to acknowledge that we're misdirecting. The war on drugs won, right? And in any country, Portugal, Spain, Colorado, California, Canada, all these are major countries that have investigated this and saw that there is benefits in going legal. And the irony is, we're here enforcing laws that other countries are not. And they were the ones that created these laws. There's more than I think 2/3 of the United States has some form of legalization, in some in some capacity. So why are we, like I said, why are we beholden to our colonial masters? Why don't we chart our own destiny and grow our own product? I mean, it's not just price, right? Just first of all, the jobs. You could have funds, fund managers raising capital. You sell. You have to buy real estate. That's a job. You have to build construction of greenhouses. That's a job. You have to have the farmer. That's a job. You have to have the researcher. That's a job. We create an industry. Cayman is relying on banking and tourism that we're getting beat up from every side. So why don't we create a cannabis industry? Not just for our own self. We can legalize for the right to export. Correct. So it's an industry, and like I say, I don't personally use it myself, but if I get sick, or when I get sick, that's a guarantee. When I get sick, I want the right to be able to use it.
Sorry. Take that right away from you, sir.
Please go
ahead. Like I said, that was my first calling in life. To do exactly what you're talking about now, so I understand it. I feel that in every fiber of my being. But I also don't want my Cayman country right just so with my 2 pots out in the backyard and a little word of words going across the fence, Mr. Mayor Street, going across the fence about who did that on my side and that on your side, and you come over here and blah, blah, blah. I don't need to grow it. I need to come buy it then from the people that are investing in it in the right way, because that's the thing that I'm afraid of. Then you can have your little pots for your own self.
Yeah, but I'll quickly say it like this, like tomatoes, right? Let's just look at another product, tomatoes. Some people grow it, and some people go to Foster's and buy it. And that's what we're saying, is that we just want you to have a choice to decide if you want to grow yourself or if you want to go.
I don't want a choice. I just don't get that. I've got plenty of grandchildren. I don't want it.
Okay. If I may, though, ma'am, it's in line with Section 9 of our Bill of Rights in relation to...
No, don't talk. Okay, man, I got no Bill of Rights, nor do we need one. I know who I am. Don't come to me with that one. That Bill of Rights does to benefit me, nor you, sir. I know you.
I'll explain this as well, too, ma'am. If somebody does not have a source to get a supply for something, if they're not hurting others, then the alternative route, if they're not cultivating it, is to continue what is going on right now, which is drug trafficking from other jurisdictions, which brings more international pressure and more social consequences for injustice. So that's part and parcel of why that is the way it is. I'll say this. I was perplexed. It blew my mind to research some of these areas and find that it was actually a very strong human right. The reason that I say human right as well, ma'am, is because it's being that it's in the Constitution. The Constitution is a supreme law of every country, provided it's a democratic society. And that gives citizens that gives citizens rights against the government. So that's why I mentioned that. But but
thanks very much, Mom. Anything else you want to share with us?
Yeah, I just don't want them pots in everybody's yard.
All right.
And I try to remember me, and it's not pleasant living with it.
All right.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
very much,
Thank you.
Mom.
Very grateful.
Okay.
Thank
How
you.
about Dr. Lockhart, you were...
Yeah, so I think she had asked also a part about the medicinal use, and that brings up another point where I've had people at times say, don't you already have a law that for medicinal cannabis? I mean, this is just a way to corrupt our children, or for those who just want to smoke socially to do so. The current approach to medicinal cannabis is a wonderful first step, but it needs to be adjusted, because something else that I see as a problem on a daily basis is that there are people who I would like to prescribe medicinal cannabis to that cannot afford it. That cannot afford it. So Prentice gave a nice example of tomatoes. Some of us grow tomatoes. Many of us go to the farmer's market or go to Foster's to buy tomatoes. What happens if tomatoes were illegal? Suppose only Foster's could sell tomatoes. What would be the price of the tomatoes?
Monopolies drive prices up.
So we have a law. We have some medicinal products. We don't have enough. There's another person, a young man that Prentice knows, that actually monitored, that actually guides him. This young man has had challenges in the past. I would like to prescribe something more natural for him, but we don't have the range of products available because we don't produce it. We have to wait. We have to try to get a pharmacy or something to bring it in from Canada, or it's not, or they stop bringing it, and so there are limitations to the use.
How, for me, there are socioeconomic implications. We see the medicinal benefits and maybe more inclined to speak to them. But supply and demand, economics permeates almost every discussion without just even recognizing it. This opportunity now to talk is a cost, right? Your time and the like. So let me then ask, if say there was a legal way to start farming and producing and supplying. We talk to tomatoes, we see mango trees and other fruits, rearing of cattle. There's a timeline. If someone was to start today, had the arable land, everything in place, and they wanted to bring to market the CBD oil in a legal, properly validated, licensed, regulated, tested, and all that, are we looking 10 years from now?
No,
or 10 months from now?
That's something that could be done, but You're saying provided everything's legal.
Everything's in place.
Yeah.
So you start in now.
You put seed to soil and get on with it.
6 months or less.
Okay.
But here's the one thing you said outside. I just want to mention this because Cayman is quite small, and I can tell you this right now. There's no place in the Cayman Islands that would be equivalent to be allowing to be called organic, at least according to the FDA, because of our size and mosquito spraying. So
the FDA not much to look at it.
But I understand that. But in order to get to what I'm saying, there are some issues in certain areas that, especially concentrated areas, you'd have to be very careful about the mosquito spraying.
Right.
But you can use greenhouses. You can do indoor growing. You can do indoor outdoor and take it back in. So there's different.
Exactly. And I appreciate you that, because the reason why I'm asking is that the timeline, within a year, 6 months, you can bring a crop to market.
Yeah.
6 to 4 months to grow.
Yeah. And if you had a cow, right, for instance, not everybody likes veal, but you want 2 years at least, right? So there is the benefits of stimulating the economy, and then the properties for the medicinal values for that person who is in chronic pain, for example, fibromyalgia or cancer, and not able to get that. That is, wow, man. I mean, that's inhumane.
Yes,
I think it is actually.
Yeah. All right.
Yes. Especially when there's life-threatening ailments that could be treated.
Okay, you want to take the break now, Mr. Fox? Gents and our callers online, I crave your indulgence and thank you again for sharing with us. Let's pause, take the break, take some calls, and continue discussion. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette, brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands.
In Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, It was around the same time as the emancipation process that permanent settlements, or rather resettlements, began on the islands, and was largely via the whites, who had never owned slaves. However, the first certain knowledge of settlement was during the early 1830s. The James Minot slave census of 1834 recorded that a Mr. William Page was living on Little Cayman with 6 slaves. The following year, Captain Pack arrived on Little Cayman to read the Emancipation Proclamation to Page and the slaves, after which the slaves are believed to have left.
Information from this historical vignette was sourced from Founded Upon the Seas, A History of the Cayman Islands and Their People by Michael Creighton and the New History Committee.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette, brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointments.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
CG Britcay would like to wish our clients, their families, our staff, and our communities a happy holiday. In this time of celebration, let us remember what this past year has taught us, that we can be in different rooms, different homes, or on different islands, yet never feel apart. Because we are here for each other and stronger together. We look forward to the new year, to serving your insurance needs, and always putting people first. Happy holidays from our CG Britcay family to yours.
Savannah Pharmacy. Shop local and get a head start on your Christmas shopping. For ladies' handbags, clothes, shoes, fragrance, candles, and cosmetics with the newest Farmhouse Fresh line of skincare. For the gentlemen, clothes, shoes, fragrances, gift sets, and toys and games for the kids. Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they are always just around the corner with everything your family needs. And convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
A friendly holiday reminder. You can WhatsApp your Savannah Pharmacy prescription to 929-5045. That's 929-5045.
Make your house into a home. Welcome to Brand Source Home Gallery, your source for premium products and a premium experience. We'll design and install your dream kitchen with crafted cabinets, complemented with elegant appliances. We'll fill it with quality houseware and cookware. Custom designed closet and storage solutions organize and beautify any area. And with the finest bedding, you'll get a perfect night's sleep knowing Brand Source Home Gallery has everything you need to make your house a home.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray, and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
More ways to win big this Christmas. The more you watch, listen, and stream your favorite Digicel apps, the more chances you have to win from thousands of prizes. Enter to win the grand prizes of US $10,000 cash, US $5,000 cash, or a Digicel family pack with 4 smartphones and free service for a year. Simply listen to your favorite Christmas carols in D Music, watch movies in Play Go, live sports in Sportsmax, or connect with friends in BIP and join BIP Rewards channel for daily prizes. Claim your guaranteed prize every Saturday. Shake to win in the My Digicel app today. Digicel, better together this Christmas.
It's big, it's hot, and it's sizzling. Take 25% off all fabrics at Super Stitch Fabrics. 3 days only. Thursday, December 2nd, Friday, December 3rd, and Saturday, December 4th. Fabric for dresses, fabric for skirts, fabric for blouses. Super Stitch even has fabric to cover your chairs and your what's it not.
No, me what's it not.
It's the biggest fabric clearance of the year, so don't miss it. 25% off all fabrics. Super Stitch, your one-stop household store at 39 Passador Place, Smith Road, still offering the best prices in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky.
Talk to Dick. But I do have some questions. Talk to Dick.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk to Dick.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for joining us. Thanks to Dr. Lockhart, R.M. Marion, and Mr. Prentice Pannon for giving us some of their time to discuss this topic. Gents, we do have a couple of callers. They've been very patient and on the lines. Let's join them. Hey, good afternoon. Thank you so much for calling and for hanging on. Hello, good afternoon. All right, welcome. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hey. Welcome back.
Hello. Good afternoon, caller.
Yeah, back then. Let me hold on. Did I explain something enough? Early on.
Sorry, say that again, please. Sorry.
I said early on when I called in, out first caller. Did I explain something enough?
That's.
Do
we understand you? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
sir. Yes. Your point was made. Yes.
Okay. Here the beat now. Right. To listen to the audience. Right. You Stalin. You hosted 3 different characteristics of the chroma of people inside there. A lawyer, a doctor, a businessman.
Correct.
So you got to give them the benefit of doubt. Okay? Stalin. Like if you came on now, they have a tendency, right? You paint air border with the same brush or use comparison. No. It don't go so, right? They said, in this time, this era, Stalin, give 2 minutes, let me wrap up. I'd like to on the border, right? And then I might tell my style. I know. Stalin, in the panel and the audience.
Yes, sir.
It came on now. We have to avoid, right? This this Roman doors, right? Perpetrating the prison system for herbs.
I completely agree with you, sir.
Because no, despite if you're a blue collar person, white collar, who are in the judicial system, you can't use that or categorize that more as that. You understand? It's a very so a urine specimen. You understand? We do get to that point now, right? And you see, Sterling, last Wednesday I called OT, right? And I told him last week Monday they found over 2,000 pounds of cocaine in Jamaica, right? And no one in the house that I mentioned. I never came on now. I talk about worldwide now. That's confidential. You see come from? So last year, Sterling, the Jamaica police and JDF Defense Force, they had a shootout between 2 of them entities, right? For hybrid ganja. Okay? So
I know what he's talking about.
Yeah, so what I appreciate these gentlemen on now, the airways, I don't hear, listen, the donkey is gone, right? All the prejudice are gone. You understand? So we'll move on, and that let goes on. And Sterling, I don't want to like I negative this or I outcast because I talk in the realness. A lot of people support me, a lot of people believe me.
Appreciate your candor and openness, sir. Really do.
But the critics inside that they can't get their way. You understand? And to try to put it down. Because if they're a family member who are traumatized, the problem, life goes on, and that move on. And you gentlemen do a good job.
Thank you very much. It's very kind of you.
Thanks, man. All right.
That's all I say.
All right.
I know my explanation. I'm done.
More time, man. More time. Thanks, man.
Thank you for your comments.
Let's take one other call. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you for calling.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, caller.
Good afternoon to your guest.
Good afternoon, sir.
And good afternoon to the listeners.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
as Mr. Brentas Banton know, I am a big supporter in legalizing the marijuana because, we receive this marijuana from different countries, and unfortunately, they bring with these marijuana other drugs. If we legalize this and it become available for the people who smoke this ganja here, so it will stop the smuggling. That's one.
I agree.
Two, we will have industry. Now it is blooming all over the world. As you know, I am a good expert in agriculture. And for my knowledge, if we do in a greenhouses, which the ceiling cover with plastic 37% and the side with shade cloth 37% shade, I think you will produce the right product, and we could export. The government will benefit, the country will benefit. There is created more jobs, and this country will be protected from other drugs. I think the reason why some people go into other drugs because sometimes this marijuana is not available, so they go to other drugs, and that will lead to a bigger disaster. I think by legalizing this ganja, I think it is the right decision. I think it is it's now legalized all over the world, and I think it is from medical perspective. I think there is a lot of medical benefits in cannabis, and I want to be the first farmer to plant ganja and Cayman.
Legally, I mean.
Legally.
So one day, anyone who gets this license, I want to be working with them. I think I have the expert, I have the knowledge in agriculture to do a successful and to show the country that we can produce anything. Farming in Cayman, unfortunately, they tell you, oh, we can't plant this, we can't. It's untruthful. We planted the dragon fruit, a type of fruit in Cayman, and we succeed in planting the dragon fruit in Cayman and produce, and it's in the market now. We produce tomato, we produce pepper, we produce everything. The soil, you can mix up some manure and other stuff with the soil, and you get a good soil in Cayman. I think anyone say we can't have agriculture in Cayman is trying to shift the country somewhere else. So I think I am supporting this move, and I wish you all the best. And
Thank
I
you.
want to say hello to Dr. Dec3rd, my good friend.
Hello,
Thank
sir.
you for coming and speaking to the people.
You're very
always
welcome.
contribute to this country, and Mr. Brentas also from the people who always have good ideas, good things, and that's
Thank
telling
you.
me that there is intelligent Caymanian man trying to do the best for the country. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, caller.
You be good. Dwayne.
All right, thanks much, man.
One
Thanks.
thing I would add, actually, that he did say, and just piggyback on that, our proximity to the equator, just given where we are in the tropical Caribbean region, they talk about Jamaica being very conducive for growing conditions, but Cayman Islands is the same thing, except we're a lot smaller,
Right.
obviously.
But the caller highlights a good point relative to agriculture.
I
We can
should
grow
say
a lot
that-
more.
Yeah, we can actually, without manipulation of artificial light, if you're talking about indoor, as soon as you go out in Cayman, and just like Jamaica, the plant immediately starts to flower. There's a difference between putting it in veg mode where it doesn't flower, which is probably the best thing if you use an indoor-outdoor hybrid kind of approach. But perfect conditions for growing. So other places in the world can't do that year round. Can't have production. So with natural light, I should say.
Yeah, you see that, like I say, talked about it's a high value cash crop. So we can spend the resources, and as I was saying, there's a lot of fund managers here that would raise hundreds of millions of dollars to build any amount of facilities that we need. I spoke to. I mean, yeah. We want Caymanians to be controlled of this, right? So when we get to the point where it's getting legalization and licensing, that needs to be 100% Caymanian owned business. We can get foreign investors, or because the banks may not be able to lend us the money to build what we need. But what we're here primarily for is like, one, to talk about that there is a legitimate medical benefit to it, and two, that we want to push at this stage for decriminalization. We have the petition in our stores. There's other places you can get it, you can sign, and we want to push the government. And there are many politicians that are actually currently elected actually support it, but they just not as vocal about it. There's other. I mean, I'm the businessman. They say, the big money greedy buy guy, and everybody thinks that's what I'm here. But there's a lot of other business people that are having heavily invested into this in research and time, and I want their facilities are already on island that are ready to grow, right? It's just that I'm willing to come out and put my face on it, right? I'm the point man. I'm out here. I'm willing to take the licks. And the reason I do that is the country first. The reality of this, right, is that once people start to have the right to smoke, that, which is my primary business is alcohol, people drink less. So I'm not here for the money. I'm looking to legalize something that could hurt my business. I just like said, to me, I'm here because I genuinely believe, right, and I've come a long way, that this is a benefit to Cayman in numerous ways, right, and that's what I'm here for, is to support the effort and moving it forward, and like I said, we want to get people registered, and we want you to talk to your politicians. We want you to do your own research. We're not here to tell you to believe us. Look it up yourself. Like I said, we all more or less had, I want to say, negative views of it at one point of our lives, and given time and experience, we've changed. And that's all we're asking, is that you approach this with an open mind.
All right. I wanted to call but now I want to ask something in particular, given the perceptions of the sort of society. But let's take this caller, Dr. Lockhart, Aria Marion, and Prentice Panton, our guests. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne, and your guest, Billy Sinamba here.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. I've got one comment and one question. My comment is this: my own personal view about drugs, but more so about marijuana, is that it should be legalized in general. Because, you see, when you get to a position in any society, I don't know what the position quite is in Cayman. I did look at some statistics before. But if you look at certain parts of the United States, about half of the population in certain areas use one form of drug or another. 3 of the last U.S. presidents, Barack Obama, George Bush, and one other, I can't remember now, Bill Clinton, they admitted to using drugs. And it seems to me...
But sorry, Clinton said he
didn't inhale.
Sorry?
Clinton's joke was, when he said he didn't inhale.
Okay. Oh, the one who didn't inhale, yeah. Well, one of them said he didn't inhale. The other one said I inhaled because that was the whole point, So, to me, once it gets to a point where people can pay so much money for drugs, and a lot of people use it in society, it seems to me like the drug war has been lost. And it seems at the end of the day, what you want to do is just bring it into the open and see how you can deal with it. So that's my view, as much as I don't use drugs and I don't support them. But that is a perfect segue to my question. You see, in Portugal, my information is that they legalized some years ago.
That's correct.
Yes, all or most drugs. And they say that...
legal heroin, yes.
Legal heroin, yes. And they say that people were healthier, they came out more, there was less use of it, and there was less black market. Just all together that things worked out better. What I would like to find out is, what is your comment on that? Is there some perspective you can give us on it, or does it look like does it look like that has been simplified? Maybe it's more complicated than it looks, because to my lay eye, it is telling me everybody should go that route because it looks like it does solve a lot of problems. I just thought I'd elicit a comment from you on that.
I just say my quick layman approach. I've watched numerous videos on that too, that where they in Portugal and other places that have legalized in some form that people have there is a reduction in consumption over time because people are willing to come out in the open, and then you can you're not afraid to register and say, well, maybe I have an addiction or whatever, and you're willing, and you're not what's the word? Scrutinized and not stigmatized is the word. Yes, that for the use of it, and if you feel to use it, like you can go and exchange needles, for example, and that has been a reduction in hepatitis and AIDS, and so there's a lot of benefits of getting these things out into the open, and so I agree that we should pursue that route. We all for legalization, but other people
I would have to say that in line with what actually the quote Prentice that forbidden fruit is the sweetest. So there's an attraction to things that are forbidden.
Right.
When you take that element away from it, there is a reduction in crime. But I just want to say, as an attorney, we always have to remember that we are on overseas British territory, and that we have to make sure that we are complying with international law. And we're not putting anything that could make its way through Parliament, like has happened in some other Caribbean countries. By taking it too far into the realm of recreational, where you could put the United Kingdom in breach of their own international obligations, they will come back down and have consequences. We already have a lot of international scrutiny on the Cayman Islands. We're, I guess, perhaps a victim of our own success in financial services and banking and law and other elements. So,
Billy, thanks very much. Any final thoughts?
Yes.
Thanks very much. Well, just final thoughts. Yes, thanks very much for pointing out that aspect. Yes, which says that we have to remember that OT aspect of it, and so it is part of the whole discussion. Thanks very much for your response.
Thank you, Colin.
Thank you, Dr. Lockhart.
Just to add to something that Billy brought up also, we have to be careful that as human beings that we don't mix our biases in with our moral beliefs, in a sense. What I mean by that, as a psychiatrist, I can tell you that the nature of the human animal is that we love substances. And I'll say it again because it's a fact. When we look at how many of us had a cup of coffee today which has caffeine, how many people have cups of tea, how many people are taking prescribed stimulant medications, antidepressant medications, anti-anxiety medications. But there's a two-tiered system. My doctor prescribes me that medication, I'm fine with that drug. The guy that's out there, the little guy that gets caught with the spliff of ganja, is a drug addict.
Yeah.
He needs to go to jail. It is human nature to use substances. I'm not defending it. I'm just stating the fact. There are parts of Africa, in the northern horn of Africa, where people chew khat, K-H-A-T. It's a substance that gives a stimulating effect. They have wars over it. We go through to our neighbors in South America in terms of the coca leaf. Even before it's produced to make cocaine, it's legally there. People chew it. I've been to Peru. They gave me the leaf to chew before you go up to Machu Picchu.
Maybe they used to use that when they would run back in
up
exactly.
the mountain.
We can go on and on. Every society. And let's even pull back from modern society. Let's go to the more native societies around the world, whether it's the indigenous societies in Brazil and so on. They use herbs, plants, medicines, both to cure, to treat, to invigorate, to relieve tension and anxiety. It's the human condition.
So in South Africa, for example, what we would call a ganja spliff or cannabis, I would say cannabis spliff or whatever, in the Caribbean, that's what they call it. It's D-A-G-G-A. I just met someone from South Africa when I was picking up food yesterday who was explained to me it was called Dec3rd. I believe it's.
But it goes by another name, right?
Right, but it was ironic because the 2018 Constitutional Court of South Africa that really triggered this privacy rights aspect to decriminalization of cannabis for personal use by adults. That man in it, Mr. Gareth Prince, that gentleman was actually not really viewing the court, but he said he was drinking at a pub while that court case was going on in South Africa. So it was kind of neat. He kind of gave me a little bit more background that I didn't know by reading it. So.
But seriously, we talk about the fruit, right? But the low hanging fruit has always been the little boy in the bicycle smoking a spliff, right?
We should be getting rapists, people that are out there that are really shooting up
preachers, pastors, politicians, and principals. I mean, the gamut is there. The criminal is sometimes in the tie as it is in the.
That's what I was saying. A lot of these laws were created based on racism. As the reality is, black and white
decriminalization,
black
racism,
and white smoke the same amount, but there are more people of color incarcerated in most societies, or they get longer terms. And then they talked. A couple of the callers talked about the dangers of this, right? And we acknowledge the danger, but the reality is that cannabis has a lower addiction rate than alcohol, than tobacco, than caffeine, than sugar. So we acknowledge that. And then a big part of us that we were taught or ingrained and beaten with it was the idea that it would cause mental issues, right? And I'm not a doctor, I'll try to talk more about that, but just from a layman's point of view. Is it the chicken and the egg, right? Did the person have mental issues and started using, or did the substance itself cause the mental issues, right? And I think there's probably argument for both, and certainly by not having quality control like legalization, have the right to grow and produce a safer substance. And Dr. Hasan, I would like him to talk about that example of what he told me that some of the toxins that has been found in the cannabis in the Cayman Islands before in the past. So I think that's one of the reasons why, we say we have the approaches of mind. Nobody says this for everyone. I personally want it to be decriminalized, not because I wanted to sell it. I know it because I want to smoke it. But I think, by having it out in the open, we can approach it in a sensible manner. We can redirect the resources in the law enforcement area, and we can if and when it will become legal eventually. That we can tax it and we can use that money for other benefits. Like Colorado is raising tens and tens of millions of dollars, and they put that towards schools and other things. So I think, like I said, I'm here to just continue the discussion and see how far we can go with it.
And I should also add as well that there is a petition that is circulating that you can find actually at both behavioral health associates, but with an appointment, please, and also at Mr. Panton's stores, Liquor for Less, Hemp and Tobacco, and also
Reflections.
All the reflections.
And all the food stores. The only one we don't have it in that I control is a gas station because that's a corporate corporation.
I didn't know if it
we won't put it there because of the corporation.
And you can also find it at Silverside Restaurant and Lounge at second floor of Eden Rock, Mr. Roger Freeman's restaurant.
So with this in mind, then speaking to the whole issue, I know we got the news coming up, and maybe after the break, because there is the quality control aspect of it. We've increasingly hearing from callers that the ganja's coming in is laced with formaldehyde, is laced with this, with this, right? I think back to just within our own little communities, these boys, as they were then, he got it, but it was laced with something, and that created a problem. But if we're now able to identify that, yes, in fact, it's being preserved for the shipment because it's been laced with this thing, what are the consequences, and would it having it properly regulated legalize, decriminalize.
That's a very good point.
Assist. So we could talk to that when you come back and speak to some of the potential impacts of that.
I'd like to talk about also the reversal of psychoactive effects as well too.
Thank you. Yes. And maybe we can
you're
talk
not
more.
Just stuck and have to ride it out. There's ways to
perfect.
reduce it with cannabinoids.
All right. Well, if you can, please stay tuned and rejoin us when we continue our discussion.
Thank you.
At Subway, we caramel a lot about our customers, so we decided to give you 2 treats in one with the new Caramel Apple Cookie. Enjoy cinnamon apples, caramel bits, and salted caramel crunch baked in, and topped with a drizzle of caramel-flavored icing. Gooey, crunchy, and yummy. Complete your Subway sandwich, pizza, or salad with the delicious Caramel Apple Cookie or any other cookie flavor and dessert, available for limited time at all Subway locations. Subway, eat fresh.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
You can now register online to receive a securely verified digital copy of your COVID-19 vaccination status with QR code through the My HSA patient portal. Sign up is available online and at all HSA locations. All you need is your photo ID showing date of birth and an email address. Visit hsa.ky and click the My HSA patient portal icon to get started.
Had a look at those investment options yet?
Too busy. Look at today. Workout, breakfast, take the kids to school, back-to-back meetings, take Pepper to the vet, and she's apparently got allergies now, so... And that was all before 12. But you look relaxed.
That's because my money's as busy as you.
With RF, you can access the best in local and international investments to keep your money busy, so you can spend more time focusing on you. Contact us at rfgroup.com to find out more. RF, money at work.
Thank you, Cayman community, for leaning in to support the success of the 26th Rotary Central Music Extravaganza fundraiser event. Congratulations, lucky winners. Thank you, Radio Cayman, Cayman Turtle Center, Bon Vivant, Funky Tangs, Thai House Restaurant, Kirk Home Center, Kirk Office, Cox Lumber, A.L. Thompson's Good Mood Food, Ala Kebabs, PD's Sports Bar and Grill, DMS Broadcasting, Uncle Bill's, Performers, Deja Vu, CNB, The Fabulous 68s, the Rotary Club of Cayman Brac, and every ticket seller, every ticket purchaser. Thank you for your supporting gifts, talents, and services. You are helping in service to change lives. Rotary Central, thanks you.
Watch and listen to win big this Christmas with a Digicel Prime bundle. Stream all the music you want in the music. Binge Christmas movies in PlayGo. Watch NBA games in Sportsmax, all while on the go without using any of your data. That's more entertainment, more data, plus more chances to win from thousands of prizes. Enter to win the grand prizes of $10,000 cash, $5,000 cash, or a Digicel family pack with 4 smartphones and free service for a year. Claim your guaranteed prize every Saturday. Buy a 7-day Prime Plus bundle for $20 today. Digicel, better together this Christmas.
Follow Radio Cayman on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio Cayman.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. The Miss World Cayman Islands organization announced it has opened its search for the next batch of candidates for the Miss World Cayman Islands competition to be held in April 2022. Deadline to register is 12 noon on December 17, 2021. Application forms are available by emailing missworldcayman@gmail.com, return forms to any MWCI committee member, or email to missworldcayman@gmail.com. In international news, Ethiopian authorities have closed all secondary schools so pupils can harvest crops for those on the front line of the civil war, state-affiliated media says. The closure will last for 1 week, according to the education minister. More than 2 million pupils were already out of school due to the war, which started in the northern region of Tigray last year. An Arizona man has been sentenced to 10 years in prison for sexually assaulting an incapacitated woman who gave birth at a clinic where she was under his care. Ex-nurse Nathan Sutherland was accused of raping the victim, who has severe disabilities, at the healthcare facility in Phoenix. He was arrested in 2018 after his DNA matched a sample from the newborn. Sutherland pleaded guilty to abuse of a vulnerable adult in September. Alec Baldwin has admitted his acting career may be over after the fatal shooting of cinematographer Helena Hutchins on the set of the film Rust. Mr. Baldwin also said he didn't pull the trigger of the gun during the incident on October 21st in New Mexico, saying, quote, "Someone put a live bullet in a gun. I know it's not me." These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon, welcome back, and thanks for joining us. Thanks to Dr. Lockhart, or Marion and Prentice Pannon, for being our guest. Gents, we do have a call. We certainly have a lot of other questions and things we want to contribute, but let's go to the phones. Hey, good afternoon, welcome, thanks for calling.
Hello, Rambo again.
Welcome back again, man.
Listen, I don't be annoying.
Welcome again, caller.
Yeah, that's not worry. Listen, I don't be annoying or loose ends, right? Towards this topic.
Sure.
Give me 2 minutes, right? Give me 2 minutes. Listen, first of all, I'm passionate and sensitive about it, right? 2007, I spent $1,050 on the draw. I told the police sergeant, how can I get my money compensated, right? And the judge would let me go at the time. Okay. First of all, my parents taught me, for the time I was adolescent, don't chase out no woman or no bus. You get better ones, right? So I don't keep calling back on this topic, okay? I respect the Dr. Lockhart early on after the first call in, right? He concluded now, right, that centuries ago, like, over 100 years ago, right, they put a paralysis in it, political paralysis in it, and now everybody being apologetic towards it, right? Like to correct this.
Mm-hmm.
You know the drug war is a loss now, right? And the DEA, the U.S. DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency, right? They destroyed Terpene, Jamaica, Colombia, and right now, the pipeline, south of us, so hemisphere of us, Colombia, legalize it for medical purpose, okay? In Germany, for recreation, European, right? You EU, you know, go. And only, like I mentioned, okay, man, we're for this, right? You know how it biased towards that prejudge, right? And finally, I guess, you know the gentleman of Brock? Taliban Uncle Elvis.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You can't be hard. 7 months ago, lecture towards it. I left my petition up there with him. I still have one too here. So we all collaborating, right? So for the better cause of these islands, this triangle. Okay. Sorry about too much, but I got to go up a test.
All right.
No problem.
Hey, thanks, man.
Thank you so much for your input, caller.
It's quick to say, I like you use your passion for this and your willingness to expose yourself and talk to people about this, to come and get a petition and go through West Bay and see if we can get as many signatures as possible. And then after that, what we plan to do is a registration drive to get a lot of new people registered that had no interest in politics before, but will be willing to register in order to bring this thing forward.
All right. Let's take one more call. Welcome, good afternoon. Thanks for calling. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
Hi, afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Hey, Sterling, how are you, my brother?
Blessings, my brother. What's up?
Hey, yeah, all good. And Merry Christmas, huh? To you and your family, huh?
Yes, and to you.
Yeah, I love Dr. Lockhart. He's a legend. He just needs to keep on telling people to reiterate It is not social distancing, it's physical distancing.
Correct.
That's correct, sir.
Correct. Thank you for that.
And another thing coming from South Africa, your other guest said it, Dec3rd.
Yes.
They pronounce it Dec3rd.
Dec3rd. I got it.
D-A-G-G-A, I think they pronounce it.
Yeah, I can spell it. It was a little bit more difficult
It's like a breadfruit,
with pronouncing it.
I don't know if it's more a Zulu word or a Afrikaans word, a Dutch word. I'm not 100% sure.
I can.
But, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have it here somewhere. I know
Is it legal in South Africa? To what level of legality?
It's decriminalized by the Gareth Prince case, and what happened is they introduced shortly thereafter some legislation to deal with decriminalization, as did St. Kitts and Nevis after the Ras San Kofi case, which was kind of 2019, or the Caribbean's version of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court's landmark judgment, just like that one. Yeah.
And then I'll ask you, after it became decriminalized, did South Africa go to hell? Like,
no.
most people. But I mean, that's kind of half jokingly. It's just saying that most people are against this, what we're doing, this effort, because they think that Cayman will fall apart and go to hell, because we introduce it. But like any place that has moved forward their legislation, Canada didn't fall apart, Colorado didn't fall apart, California didn't fall apart. They all progressed, and like I said, they were able to get revenue from this, and actually the society benefited from the revenue was created, and then the savings of not incarcerating people. So it's just kind of putting a half-assed joke in the way.
Yeah.
That why I'm asking those questions, that we need to move forward.
Problems still exist in all jurisdictions, and it's we have to refine our things, but there is a far more reduction in social injustice.
Mm-hmm. All right, so caller.
Yeah. Also, I last added, I think, when I went on rollover in South Africa, but it tends to make me aggressive.
No.
And I wake up with a hangover, or it feels like a hangover for a week.
Really? With cannabis use or Dec3rd use?
Yeah, cannabis, Dec3rd, marijuana. We also got a slang word, we call it hunga.
Okay.
A lot of Africans call it hunga.
Hunga, okay.
Hunga, yeah.
That's new to me.
The best marijuana is definitely from Malawi, Botswana, South Africa, worldwide. I mean, I smoked from all over the world many years ago, 25 years ago. That is still the best marijuana, yeah.
Well, I would say if you were looking to reduce anything like a headache or anything like that, testing would definitely be what you're looking for, because you would be in a better position to know what you're getting. But once again,
each to their own,
teach their own. Everyone's body is different, but also I would say research and development and clinical health trials are very important for us to get statistical information and start to developing customized products that are targeted for certain ailments,
No, but I stay away from it because I know how it makes me behave.
Yeah.
So I don't touch it. I don't ever touch it.
Fair enough.
I love the smell of it. I love the smell of it. But I don't touch it because I don't like who I become.
Yeah, and once again, the focus here is really not to encourage people to use it, especially illegally.
No. I'm not saying you are.
Yeah, meaning that I certainly respect that, because we certainly don't encourage anybody who is functioning in society and is contributing to society positively to necessarily go out there and use something that could change something in them that they don't need any ailment. They're not in pain, or there's not anything that is a particular reason. But the right to choose by adults in private, I think, is supporting avoiding social injustice. So,
my friend, I'm totally for it. I'm on the work permit.
Yes, sir.
The government's probably going to kick me off island for But I mean, I had a good South African friend that's dad. He was a doctor. He's lived there all his life. He lived to 99 years old, and they gave him cannabis oil for the pain, because he was sick about 97.
Mm-hmm.
But this just helped him sleep. It calmed him down.
Yeah.
2 little drops on his tongue, and he was 99 years old when he died.
Wow. He lived a long, fulfilled life, huh?
No, it's a good innings, man.
Yeah, indeed,
He would be happy
indeed.
with 99 rats. You know?
Well,
It's a good innings.
All right.
One.
Thanks very much. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your input, caller.
Thank
You have a pleasant day.
What's the host name?
Sorry?
Sterling.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We need your Christmas anecdotes, you know, when you're always giving us brain teasers. I always kick your behind.
So you think, huh?
I'll come visit you. I'm only 6'2", 250 pounds. So.
Yeah, but my brother is Dwayne, and he's stronger than an ox.
Yeah, I'm just a whole lot of fat. Don't worry.
Okay. Thanks for the reminder, man.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, one more thing.
Uh-huh.
You need to get Billy on once a week, please. No, not because he's my African brother from another mother, but he is so highly intelligent and knowledgeable. It's frightening. It's actually frightening. I think he knows more than any lawyer on the planet. That's how intelligent is.
And the good thing is, for a lawyer, he's likable.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Sorry.
Yeah, him and my good friend Amjad.
We don't like lawyers because they drag us through the bush backwards.
So I tease you as I look at Ori, and I got my other good friends who are attorneys. So I guess I'm buying the next round.
Very good.
All right, thanks very much, man.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you, caller.
Yeah.
Cheers.
All right. Have a good one, man. Talk to you soon. All right. But this is where I think that the bantam, we see the seriousness, but there's also the jovialness. But from the perspective, as Prentice was asking earlier, Dr. Lockhart, we've hearing increasingly, and I even believe that there was some comment from the, just generally speaking, the policing authority relative to the consequences of importation, the formaldehydes and the other things that are in it.
Contamination.
Yeah.
Right. So we have another challenge that we're dealing with now, and that is the comments that we hear sometimes that decriminalizing or legalizing or making cannabis products more available, number one, is going to it's going to flood the market and have all of our children and young people using it. That's not the case. I think the opposite is really the case, that putting in proper parameters and having a legal mechanism is actually going to be able to monitor and limit the access. It's going to also make sure that the actual product is of a better quality.
Mm-hmm.
And then that leads me into the actual quality of the cannabis or ganja that is available in Cayman. We know that most of it here comes from outside of the island. We know that it comes in along with other types of detrimental products or objects that affect our society. And we also know that the product itself, in many occasions, not only is it substandard, but it has many times ingredients that are toxic, potentially cancer-causing and very toxic. So about, again, bear with me, it might have been 2 years ago, it might have been just before the pandemic, there was a major police action going on in Jamaica, in the western part of Jamaica. Remember, there were some things with gangs that were fighting and going on. There were stories that came out that the gang members were using formaldehyde, which is embalming fluid, and soaking the cannabis in that and smoking it because they found that it made them fearless. It made them more aggressive. It made them able to go and shoot and fight the police with less reserve. Now, we know that quite a bit of that product made its way to the Cayman Islands at that time, because there are patients of mine that had symptoms consistent with upper respiratory irritation, burning, coughing of blood, wheezing, a lot of symptoms after smoking cannabis that they bought on the street. The belief by many in our society is that these spliffs or this ganja is seasoned with cocaine and other things and so on. And I can tell you as a medical practitioner, that is extremely rare. And in the cases where it is seasoned with cocaine, you pay more for it. It's not just seasoned with cocaine and sold for the same price. Cocaine is much more expensive. I've spoken to people in the prisons. I go into the prisons to treat also. And they tell me that that's total foolishness, Doc. We're not putting any cocaine in any spliff. We would use that ourselves if that person's inclined to do so. What is put in it are actually things that are even more toxic to the young people that use it off the street. So we know for sure that formaldehyde or embalming fluid was then used and is continued to be used at times in the products that are shipped here, because it was discovered by some that it gave a kick, in a sense, to the product. It made them feel more aggressive or made them feel more of a reaction. And what is being done then is that they can get the lowest quality product and then soak it in embalming fluid, dry it out in the sun, package it, and ship it to different places, including our beloved Cayman Islands. That's going on now. So when we hang up today and we leave this studio, we may have a young person that's smoking something like that now. So that's why we're saying that this is very relevant that we're talking about. Like Prentice, I don't have to be here. I get no benefit personally from standing up and saying I support this. I actually have patients of mine that are saying, what is Lockhart doing on the radio talking about cannabis and so on? Doesn't he understand? Yes, I do understand, because again, I see the young people. I gave the number of, 400 and something arrested in the last 3 years. Young people out there right now struggling, unable to get employment and so on because of a criminal record, that have a dependence, a psychological dependence on cannabis. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but what I'm saying is, what are the options for their treatment? What are the options for their treatment right now? We lean completely on the criminalization of this topic, and although it's a medical topic mostly, we don't have any or very little discussion on the treatment and rehabilitation aspect.
Which is very important. Yeah.
Gents, with the final break, when you come back, again, I can't thank you enough for sharing with us. So please rejoin us after this break.
We may be in Christmas shopping mode, but 'tis the flu season too. Savannah Pharmacy has immune system boosters for the entire family with a range of vitamins and supplements. Their knowledgeable and courteous pharmacists are always available to offer the best advice and products. Remember, they are always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
A friendly holiday reminder. You can WhatsApp your Savannah Pharmacy prescription to 929-5045. That's 929-5045.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands. The ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom. The land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
20 years.
Remember when Crew Road had no median and Linford Pearson was only 2 lanes?
We do.
When Dirty Reeds was down the street?
We do.
We have been there for the falls, the growth, and the rise. When your body and mind needed to change, Powerhouse Gym has been here. We've skated with you. Your first date, your daughter's first time on skates, your son's first strike. From football to squash, to karate and hockey, to bowling and concerts, and everything in between.
For 20 years,
so much has changed, some for the good and some not so much. Through it all, King Sports Center has been here for you, for Cayman.
King Sports Center, celebrating 20 years as Cayman's home for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
CG Britke would like to wish our clients, their families, our staff, and our communities a happy holiday. In this time of celebration, let us remember what this past year has taught us, that we can be in different rooms, different homes, or on different islands, yet never feel apart. Because we are here for each other and stronger together. We look forward to the new year, to serving your insurance needs, and always putting people first. Happy holidays from our CG Britke family to yours.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for sharing with us. And just on the 8 minutes or so left in today's program, Prentice Panda, attorney Ori Marion IV, and psychiatrist Dr. Mark Lockhart. Very much appreciative of your time. We've had a lot of discussion, and maybe there are a couple of things in closing I would like to ask. Finally, people who want credible, timely, accurate information, maybe some resources they can check. Also, the petition and the like. But we hear a lot. We hear a lot of words today. Indica and sativa. No, they're not models of cars. CBD and cannabinoids and the like. And we've seen the implications positively for the benefits to people's health. The cancer patient with appetite, the fibromyalgia patient with pain management,
epilepsy
and seizures and the like. So a lot of potential benefits. But maybe as an attorney, first with you, are there other things relative to usage and CBD and certainly Dr. Lockhart, I want to ask again about how do you take it? Is there a better way, drops versus smoking versus IV and so on?
Sure. I would probably allow Dr. Lockhart to say, and I'll piggyback on anything.
Perfect.
I think that would be the best.
All right.
So the 2 quick points. First of all, another fallacy or misbelief or misconception is that smoking of cannabis can make you mad. It can cause psychiatric issues, and all of us that have any kind of Caribbean history or background know of a story where such and such and such came from a good family, was a good this, he was smoking the ganja, and he's gone mad. And I'm a psychiatrist, so I can tell you that I'm well aware of the impact of psychosis and the destabilizing feature that it has not just on the patient but on family. What is becoming clearer and clearer is that you have a predisposition to a psychotic type disorder, and when you use certain substances or live a certain lifestyle or not get adequate nutrition and sleep, the underlying illness can emerge or be exacerbated, get worse. The facts are that significant amount of information and studies in multiple jurisdictions, the United States, Canada, and in England, are showing that CBD, which is one aspect of the cannabis molecule or plant, is actually therapeutic in treating and reducing the symptoms of schizophrenia. That's number one. Number two, high doses of CBD, again, which is another component, can actually be used acutely in an emergency setting when somebody has consumed too much of the THC and they're intoxicated by it, where they can be paranoid, agitated, misperceiving things, maybe even delusional. That there's studies that are showing that very high quantities, we're talking about like 1,000 milligrams, 2,000 milligrams, can be safely given, and it can actually reverse the effects. That brings up another little problem, as I said earlier. Do we have any products on island with 1,000, 2,000 milligrams that we can get? No. Trying to wait for other jurisdictions to make this and send it in, and the cost, it's prohibitive. The other thing, another mistake and misconception that I believed earlier on was that there is no medication that you smoke. That's just totally ridiculous. And I was wrong. And studies today show, and actually a summary from the National Institutes of Science in the United States said that smoked, vaporized cannabis and extracts containing a THC-CBD mix are probably efficacious in neuropathic pain, multiple sclerosis spasticity, and for nausea. So, inhaling of the vapor can be therapeutic. It is the toxins that are available and how you get that vapor in. And the reason is that medically, the reaction is a lot quicker when you inhale or vaporize things. Now, when we go to the hospital, if any of us have had a surgery or you need to have surgery, how is the anesthetic given to you? IV and sometimes inhaled. Right? So medications can be inhaled. So that's something that I had to really reorganize my thinking about. It's how you do it and the form you do it. To limit and minimize any toxins associated.
So if it is vaporized, and I'd also say smoked in a cannabis spliff, but I would prefer that if anyone is seeking to look to do that, stick to the vaporization, but cannabis material in a spliff as well too. If it's at a lower temperature, you have to remember your blood circulates through your body every minute. But the slowest part it goes through is your brain, and the higher the heat, the more toxins that are going at a low, the very slow part through your brain have a certain effect. So the heat is an element, like the Rastafari use chalices that can be very hot. I'm not saying anything other than the use of something like that, or like a pipe or something that can be very hot. So you have to be careful about the toxins that can
So what a cool dispensary method.
So you can get a vaporizer that goes at a very low heat. So like I say, go low and slow.
Yeah, and like I said, one of the reasons you smoke is the speed of delivery, and because you get the speed of delivery, you can get more instant relief. But also because of the speed of delivery, you can tell more quickly that I've had enough and stop.
Correct.
The problem is taking it by orally or in digesting it like that. It can be 1 to 2 hours before we go through the digestion system.
Yeah.
You may not feel anything, so you may take another one. And that's usually where people end up with, say, problems or issues with consumption, is that they've, like who has only one chocolate on one brownie.
Right.
So they tend to, say, because there's a delay reaction into the system. So the advantage of vaping or smoking is that you almost immediately know that how high you are or how and when to stop more quickly. So
right.
It is beneficial.
And Dr. Lockhart can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but what it is if it's orally, the administration route, if you go orally, it has to bypass the liver, kind of as the filter, whereas inhalation can goes through right through your blood system, so that's where you get like an immediate effect.
And that's exactly it. So it's called the first pass mechanism.
Correct,
so we're generally saying that you only really get about 6 to 10% of the total effect of the cannabis when you ingest it, swallowing it. Now, many times that's all we need. So I'm not saying that, but it's just to keep in mind depending on what we're treating. So somebody with intractable pain, somebody that has seizures, somebody that has other types of illnesses that require a quicker response, we're finding that inhalation methods are beneficial and do have a medicinal role.
Because it's more immediate, like so those drops
and more effective. I think it goes into the range like 40% or more versus the 6%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
So then, in this, then the discussion is perhaps educational from the perspective of getting society to appreciate the medicinal as well as the economic and the societal implications. And then the political, from the policy analysis, the preparation of a paper for public discussion. But then, what else? If I might, in closing, as a physician, Dr. Lockhart, you have shared, your view is this, and then 2 decades later, it's now this. What do you think, if it's not an appropriate question to ask at this time, the medical fraternity within the Cayman community view on this? Is it shifting more to align with the intellect of yours, or is it still the archaic colonialistic approach?
So, again, this is anecdotal. I haven't polled my colleagues. But I do feel that the shift is really moving towards understanding that change has to happen. And I say that because I think I think it's hard now, and I'm just speculating, to find any physician that'll stand up and say there are no medicinal benefits in it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is a big obstacle that we've all overcome now.
Okay.
And I think the next step is really them saying how far we should go, and some saying, well, but I think that the information is there. As I said, everything we have discussed today, I challenge the listeners to go online, research, challenge, come back and look at the information that's out there.
Yeah, yeah, you know what I have to say, that when I first set out about a little bit over 5 years ago, start getting involved in some of this, both in legal practice and some other capacities, my father said, no, son, you're wrong. So I put some stuff in front of him and said, I'm not trying to prove you right, prove me wrong. And he said, I'm going to do it. Now, if any of you know my father, he really goes into his research. He came back about 3 months later, after doing extensive legal research, medical research, other research. He says, son, you're right about this. He said, I didn't even know some of these laws existed. I didn't know some of these cases existed. My mother's he teases her as doctor nurse. She's a nurse practitioner that does genetics coordination, but she's has quite a bit of medical literature, and he's talked to doctors. So he himself said at first, no, and then now he supports this 100%, both decriminalization and medical use, but yet he doesn't use himself.
Yeah. That's to education. In fairness, you've always been not just a strong entrepreneur. Before there was the good word that talked about disrupt, I think you were that.
Catalyst.
Critical thinker.
Yeah, and that's commendable, because the benefits are going to accrue if we pursue it with a sense of acumen. And I commend you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I say. That's what I see in this now is bringing about positive change and bringing about awareness. Reducing of the stigma, moving society along. At the end of the day, we're all Cayman, and we want Cayman to be the best society. I don't want to create a society that's bad. I'm trying to make it a lot better, and I genuinely believe it's not about money. I could stay home today and retire if I could stay still for long enough to do that. Yeah. But it's not about money. It's to me, I seen the benefits, and like I said, everyone go out there and do their own research, look into it, and and you'll be pleasantly surprised how beneficial this product can be for the use and also the benefits of decriminalization, and ultimately our goal is in the future legalization.
All right. And I just want to say this too, as an attorney, I agree with both Mr. Panton and Dr. Lockhart, that had you asked me 10 years ago that I would be here advocating cannabis rights, I would have laughed and said this is ridiculous. But you know, like you said, you educate yourself on things, you'd be surprised how viewpoints change and how your eyes are open. So
okay. And with that, though, for the petition, it's in my it's available in my stores, and people can reach out and find me and help us. You know, in many ways, we need to get together. We need to start having meetings. This is a good platform to get the word out, but we need to start having meetings where we can start working on the social media and getting petitions out, and the whole registration drive is another big thing. Yeah.
Absolutely, we want to get the people involved in the democratic process. We actually have thousands of verbal and or text message, this not commitments, but I do want to say this. I do want to apologize to anyone that I'm a bit delayed in getting back to. As an officer of the court, I owe duties to my clients and to the court that when I wish I could make other time to get back to some things, there is a delay, so please forgive me. But I put any of those failures or delays on myself. And if there's you said, well, I don't want anyone to blame me, so please don't blame any of these other three good men around the table for anything. If you want to blame anyone, put the blame on me. I'll take it all.
Look at it this way. They talked about bleeding on the rain, so. but gents, thanks individually for your stance.
And thank you to Radio Cayman as well too. Very grateful, sir.
All right, and Dr. Lockhart, for as a medical practitioner, as a stellar member of our medical fraternity, for sharing the science with us, for being not just eloquent, but such a strong intellect and giving us a perspective to understand.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Lockhart, and thank you, Mr. Panton.
I just like to say I was humbled to be in the presence of such great men.
Oh, no. the pleasure is all mine.
All right. But that now we'll buy him a coffee. Yes. All right. I think it's Friday. God's willing. We want you to be involved and engaged, entertained, but more importantly, safe, healthy, productive. And as you go about the community, please be mindful of the great service that you add. Join us come Monday right after the midday news for more Talk Today. It is our monthly Mental Health Matters with Dr. Alexandra Lockhart. Just kidding. I just teasing.
She's like family.
She's like, oh man, she. You know what? That's an inside joke that one day I'll share.
She's one of the panelists' cousins, yes. but she's like a sister to me.
She is indeed. She speaks so highly of you, and this is very great. You're talking about great company. We see people following examples and having good people to look for. As mentors in their own calling. So it's great. Yes, well, that's Monday, our Mental Health Matters, and we see the importance of it. Of course, for the record, it starts us off. The only morning show that matters, So join Mr. Art for that. And until Monday, my friends, if you are like me and denied the sea salt dark chocolate, well, it's only a choice. If you otherwise, we'll see where it goes. Until then, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sunday.